Busted. Citigroup caught blatantly marketing itself as a casino, exactly what Kaiser's been talking about for years. Here's another PrisonPlanet.com article. IMF head calls for huge global warming slush fund. It's like buying indulgences 600 years ago from the Vatican to get your family out of hell. It has nothing to do with the environment. But they use the money to go in and buy off third world and first world countries and buy up our infrastructure. You pay them tax money so they can come buy up your roads and put toll roads on it. And then if you go bankrupt and can't pay to go on it, they put you in jail in one of their private prisons they own. I mean, the sky's the limit. We're going back to Max Kaiser in just a moment. I want to remind listeners that when you get Fall of the Republic on DVD, we've got a free T-shirt deal, T-shirt of your choice. Great T-shirts with great Infowars.com messages where you can meet like-minded people when you're on the streets, and your purchase also makes this radio show, the websites, and future films possible. Be sure and visit the online video bookstore at Infowars.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. And we have a massive discount on Jesse Ventura's new book, American Conspiracy, which covers the Wall Street takeover, government assassinations, government drug dealing, you name it. $19.95, normally $24.95. Officially comes out today. We're shipping it out now. And you can get free Loose Change Final Cut DVD or Aaron Russo Reflections and Warnings for a limited time when you get the book. That's a $44.95 value for $19.95 at Infowars.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. That's a win-win-win-win-win. You get great information to wake up yourself, friends, and families, to get an even greater knowledge of what's happening, and you support what we're doing here. I want to tell you about one of the sponsors that's made today's show possible as well. Then we're going back to Max Kaiser of MaxKaiser.com. eFoods Direct, ladies and gentlemen, the preeminent, highest quality, best price, non-GMO, non-hybrid, made right here in America, grown right here in America, storable foods. They got a bunch of different food lines, totally prepared, freeze-dried, dehydrated, raw foods, special diets foods. They're the biggest. They're the best. They have the best prices. eFoodsDirect.com. This is where I get my storable food. eFoodsDirect.com. You'll never stand in a bread line if you have your own bread. 800-409-5633. 800-409-5633 or eFoodsDirect.com. And they've got a special going right now where you buy 9, get 3 free, or buy 3, get 1 free. They got a bunch of specials going right now for limited time at eFoodsDirect.com. Going back to Max, you were talking about how the con game works by these galactic-level Madoff, Ken Lay types. You got cut off by the break, Max Kaiser. Continue.
Right. Well, for the con to work, the person has to want to be conned, basically. And in this case, you're conning them with the come-on with Hollywood, by turning Hollywood into a Ponzi scheme that anybody can lose money on. But beyond that, there's another piece to this, which is the technology itself, the virtual specialist technology that I invented back in 1996. This technology, it was invented when I put it together to eliminate all of the front-running abuse that I saw on the floor of the stock exchange when I was working as a stockbroker. So it's designed to eliminate what's called the broker-dealer conflict of interest, because anyone who's buying and selling stocks professionally on the floor of the exchange, they act as both a broker, matching buys and sells, but they also act as a principal in buying and selling for their own account. My technology eliminates that conflict of interest. It eliminates front-running. It eliminates what we call now high-frequency trading. That technology, that patent, is being warehoused by Cantor Fitzgerald and not being allowed into the public domain, because they make a ton of money supporting the infrastructure of Wall Street, which makes a ton of money doing things like high-frequency trading and front-running. So it's just like a drug company who's warehousing a valuable patent on a drug, even though it could cure lots of people, it would cut into an existing business. So Cantor is effectively warehousing a technology that could save Americans hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars that are lost by abuse on the floor of the exchange by these banks engaging in front-running.
Instead, it's come out that the big banks have special government-developed programs that allow them to actually cheat the market.
These technologies, high-frequency trading, as was revealed when they captured one of the defectors from Goldman Sachs a few months ago, they set up shop on the floor of the exchange and they siphon off billions of dollars. Goldman says they make $100 million a day on their book a lot of it comes from high-frequency trading on the floor of the exchange using this siphoning technique where they go into the exchange and they get involved in the market-making process, and they basically siphon money out. My technology, the virtual specialist technology, patent number 5950176 in the U.S., would eliminate all of that and save hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. But it's being warehoused by Cantor. Cantor won't put it into the public domain because they know that it would cut into their business and it would cut into their fellow Wall Street broker business.
Max Keiser, where does it end? Because we are seeing people say no in Greece, but it doesn't matter. Goldman set it up 10 years ago. They're now running, as you know, but listeners may not, the bankruptcy there at the government level. They've paid off the politicians. Everywhere you look, it's Goldman Sachs piloting the fraud, and the other big banks nexusing in with them, help fund them and carry it out with them. But Iceland voters, and we have one of the leaders of the parliament, Jones Dottir, joining us tomorrow. They used anti-terror laws, as you know, but listeners may have missed it. In fact, there's a headline, UK anti-terror laws, right move against Icelandic banks. That's out of a British newspaper, where they're even seizing citizens' money, saying, well, your government owes us this money, 10 times the entire GDP of the nation. And then now that they've said no, the banks are going, guess what? We actually owned assets in your country already that'll pay this off. Okay, that's fine. But they're still going to try some other chicanery. I mean, explain how Goldman Sachs, allied with the other big brokerage banks, takes down nations. And now we've got top politicians in the U.S., the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, saying the same thing's going to happen here, but saying we've got to do whatever the banks say in the next financial terrorism or we'll have a depression. But we know we're getting a depression by letting them to continue to rape us. And we've seen all the headlines. I've heard Bloomberg Financial, I listen every day, with the bankers bragging, look how we got more power out of our last scam. Let's go even bigger. You know, the world is ours. I mean, it's so transparent.
Well, Iceland is pushing back. You know, you saw that story that Iceland is going to introduce. They're trying to work on a new scheme now to make themselves a free press country. And Iceland now is going to raise the bar and be a country, the only country in the world where people can go, like WikiLeaks can be set up and not be under threat of prosecution. So Iceland is taking it to the next level. They're saying not only are we going to get rid of the bad bankers, but we're going to start getting rid of the bad media, and we're just going to start to get rid of all the garbage out there.
Yeah, it's called the Icelandic Modern Media Initiative.
That's right. They want to come out of this as a shining example, not only to the banking fraudsters, but to all the media that supports the banking.
How do you see the jackals that John Perkins talks about? What do you think black ops are going to do to try to stop this? Because one example of people standing up, you know, if one ant stands up, they could all stand up, and those little puny ants outnumber us 1,000 to 1.
Well, that's why the people of Greece need to get involved with the people of Iceland. That's why when you're talking on your show about the different groups in the U.S. that are struggling to emerge from this new post-credit crisis suppression.
And we're all being demonized. We're all being demonized as terrorists.
They have common cause with the people in Iceland, the people in Greece, and people all over the world. This is a global problem. So when you add the global dimension, you're not talking about, a few 100,000 or a few million in the U.S. who are struggling against their oppressors. You're talking about millions all over the world who are struggling against basically the same group of bankers. Goldman Sachs is at the center of everything. You know, I mean, they were in the center of the Greece problem. They were now, the New York Post just talked about in 2005, they were behind a deal to cook the books as far as the new ocean front development that they were working on, a new seaside development we're working on. We know that they cooked the books in 2000 to allow Greece into the euro to begin with. They did some additional tricks in 2009. Okay, so the name keeps coming up. We're talking about people all over the world, millions of people in countries all over the world, and we only know that there are 2 or 3 of those at the center of the problem. You're telling me that millions around the world can't figure out a way to decapitalize just 1 or 2 of the worst? I mean, come on now.
Well, let me expand on that, but I want to ask you where you...
behind your back? I mean, were you dropped on your head as a kid? I mean, are you mentally impaired? I mean, not you, Alex Jones, but I mean, anybody listening to this show.
No, I understand.
I mean, what's the problem?
But Max, that's what I'm trying to ask you.
Guys are.
That's what I'm trying to ask you is I was listening to Bloomberg Financial Saturday night. I was on with Geraldo, and I was driving home for 30 minutes listening to it. They had a former Goldman Sachs CEO on bragging that, well, the reason we do so good is we have our people all over government. I mean, they know they are a lawless mafia pirate group that...
remember in New York City, where I lived for many years, you had a guy named Don Gotti, the Dapper Don, who was very blatant, walking around town in his $2,000 suits, bragging about his criminality. Now you've got Lloyd Blankfein, who goes on TV bragging about his criminality because they know they can get away with it with impunity. It doesn't mean they're doing anything less criminal. It's just that there's no regulations in place right now at the moment. The only way to get after these guys is you've got to attack it like a racket. You have to bring in anti-racketeering.